Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I'm interviewing love coach Dr. Wendy Lyon. Super excited to have Wendy join me today. So Dr. Wendy Lyon guides individuals and couples to create lives they love with the love of their lives. Her clients say she is amazing, supportive, inspiring, helpful, and a great listener. As a master relationship coach, psychologist, and self-development trainer, Dr. Wendy has been helping people transform their lives and relationships for over 20 years. Before that, she was a college psychology professor, and she has led educational expeditions and transformational retreats in the Caribbean, Ecuador, Costa Rica, and Maui. As an author, she's contributed to best-selling books, including Roadmap to Success with Deepak Chopra and Ken Blanchard, a mentor for the Relationship Coaching Institute and the Love in 90 Days University. Wendy provides proven programs that have benefited thousands around the world. People who've worked with Wendy say they have more clarity, more confidence, and better relationships. And today we're going to be talking with her about how to be, find, and keep the love you want. Dr. Wendy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Liz. It is truly an honor to be here and to be part of your fantastic podcast. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. So let's jump right in.
Okay.
So how did you become an expert on love and relationship?
Well, I was always interested in love and relationships, like forever. So when I went to college at UCLA, I found every class that I could that had anything to do with love or relationships. And of course, I took all those classes. Then when I went to graduate school at UC Irvine, I continued taking classes on relationships and family and gender issues. And then I became a psychology professor and I taught classes about all these things. I taught human development from conception to death. That's a long period, lots of relationships in there. And I taught courses on intimate relationships, on family and work and gender issues, all kinds of things. So, and social psychology too, which has a lot to do with relationships. So I was pretty into relationships. And that's just the academic side, of course. So then I had my own relationships, of course. And looking back, I realized that what I was doing was I had kind of a series of fixer-upper relationships. Does that sound familiar? Fixer-upper relationships?
Yeah.
That's what looking back, I didn't see it at the time, but one in particular, I stayed with this guy for a very long time, all through graduate school. And I was determined I can just fix him up and turn him into that right husband. It's going to work for me. And finally, after years, I became educated. I actually learned and applied the conscious dating principles to my own life. And I realized that I had to be crystal clear about what I wanted, what was essential for me in the right relationship. And I had to find a partner who shared my vision, who wanted the same things, who wasn't just maybe about it, but really clear that he wanted what I wanted. And I did that. I found my amazing husband, Steve, and we married in 2005. And we've been really happy ever since. I mean, of course, we've had ups and downs, but it's so much easier when you're with somebody who is aligned with you, and seems so obvious, but it's so important. So I'm on a mission to help other people have that, to have that clarity and alignment and to create amazing relationships. And let's see, along the way, as you mentioned, I wrote my roadmap to relationship success, which is in the book with Deepak Chopra that's called Roadmap to Success. And in fact, I'm happy to give that roadmap out to anybody who's listening. And I've been a mentor for the Relationship Coaching Institute and the Love in 90 Days University. I love working with both of those organizations. And it has now been over 20 years that I've been helping individuals and couples to transform their lives and create great relationships. So I am definitely a fan of love and relationships. And I want you, all of you out there, to have the love that you want and have the relationships that support you.
That's awesome, Wendy. And I love that. Maybe you can share the link with me and I'll put the link along with the podcast later so they can reach
Okay.
out about the roadmap. And I'm
Absolutely.
curious about your relationship and your experience. How did you break that pattern of fixer uppers? And if people find themselves in patterns, how would they go about breaking them?
Yeah, well, it's awareness. It's getting clear on what it is you really want and not settling and not trying to fix anybody up. So it's actually realizing that we can appreciate people for who they are, but not have to fix them, not have to change them, and not have to be with them, right? You don't, just because somebody chooses you doesn't mean they're right for you. You get to be the chooser. And that's liberating. And you can choose somebody who really is a match, who really is aligned.
What
So
can we do to work on that part of ourselves inside us that's attracting that?
what, say it again.
What can we do to heal whatever's inside of us that attracts those patterns?
Oh yeah. So that's starting to understand yourself and to believe that you're worthy. So much of it is we think that we have to like stand by your man or settle for whatever shows up. Instead, you can believe in yourself. And most people approach love, they want things to work out like it does in fairy tales and Hollywood movies and the romance novels. So that's a lot of where we're often coming from, and we're just hoping to be discovered by Prince Charming and live happily ever after. And how often does that happen?
Yeah.
Not so much. I mean, it happens in the movies, it happens in the fairy tales, but in real life, not so much.
And we
So
really are programmed to look for that fairy tale, to look for that person that's going to come along and save us or provide for us or
yeah,
be, that number one person that we're looking for, like the one, quote unquote.
exactly. I know we think that that right guy or gal will just magically find me. I don't have to do anything. They'll just find me and if our fate will bring us together. Oh, then the most popular one, it's going to happen when you least expect it. So you don't have to do anything at all. It'll just happen. And again, how well does that work out? Most often not. So most people end up settling for less than what they want, or they stay with somebody for a while. There's so many breakups and divorces and so much heartache. So my mission is to help people avoid that heartache.
Yeah. So how do you help clients avoid settling and sticking around too long? Because what is it in us that allows us to settle and stick around too long?
Yeah. So, well, really what I recommend is that you be the loving and lovable partner that you want. So that's kind of a key, that you want to be the love that you want. And that means that you're not going to settle for less. You're going to really treasure and cherish yourself. So today I thought we could talk about some of these steps, like how you can be that loving and lovable partner that you want, and how you can take the right steps to find somebody who's compatible with you. So you're not settling, so you're not giving up on your dreams, and then you can learn how to keep that love so it's lasting. Most people want love that lasts. So we can start by looking at how can you be the love you want.
Yeah, let's start there. How can we be the love that we want?
Yeah, I mean, that's just amazing to think of it, that right, most people think of it, oh, it's out there, he'll find me, or it'll be like magic, and they're not looking inside. They're not realizing, oh, I'm part of this equation, this is about me too. So gosh, when people first come to me, they're so often really critical of themselves and thinking they're not good enough, they're not thin enough or attractive enough or rich enough or something enough. There's all this negative self-talk going on. And often there's a lot of self-consciousness, like, oh, am I okay? How do I look? And when you're out there, interacting, meeting people, rather than focusing outward, they're focusing like, how am I? Am I okay? Am I acceptable? Am I good enough? All this kind of fear and worry about it. And then there's a lot of doubt about love, like just thinking, well, it's impossible. It's so hard. It's not going to happen. There's no one for me. I'll never find it. So really downer beliefs out there. And I hear them constantly. It's very common. So if you have those kind of beliefs, you're not alone, but doesn't mean you have to hang on to those beliefs. And so many people, like myself included, in the past, that they've settled for less than they wanted or tolerated behavior that now hopefully you never tolerate. And a lot of people gave up on their dreams. So it's sad, and I'm on a mission to shift all that so you don't get stuck in that negativity. And I thought we could actually do a little brief exercise if you're up for it.
Sure, I'm up for it.
Will that be fun? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a little guided journey, and I often do this kind of thing with my clients. So this will be a mini version. But the idea here is to help you get in touch of what it feels like to be that love that you want, to really feel it in your body and get a sense of it. And maybe you're skeptical right now, that's okay, but just trust that this is an option for you. This is a possibility. Let's be open to love. It's possible. So let's start by closing our eyes. Just take a deep breath. Just know that this is a safe place. You can relax. Get comfortable. If you're noticing any thoughts, any concerns or worries, you can just let them float on by. You can always come back and pick them up, but for now, let them float on by. You don't need those thoughts or worries right now. Just let yourself be present in this moment. Noticing any tension you might be feeling, you can just shake it out. Any tension in your neck, shoulders, arms, let it float out your fingertips. Any tension you're feeling in your back, your abdomen, pelvis, and your legs, even your feet. Just let that tension go right out your toes. And just allow your breathing to deepen. And now remember a time when you felt really happy. You felt loved. You felt connected, appreciated, empowered. And if you can't think of a time like that, imagine a time where you're feeling happy, loved, appreciated. And let yourself sink into how it feels. So you're feeling that in every cell in your body. And know that you don't have to do anything. You're absolutely lovable just the way that you are. Just like a new baby or a puppy or a kitten. They don't have to do anything. They're lovable just the way they are. So are you. Lovable, just as you are. And you're deserving of the love you want, of the life you want, of the joy you want. You absolutely deserve that. You're worthy of it. You're important. You matter. You really do matter. And let yourself feel that, and feel the warmth of love that's flowing from you and to you. And now picture yourself in a beautiful place in nature where you're enjoying the beauty, the sounds, the sights, the smells, how good it feels to be in this beautiful place in nature. Just let yourself be there for a moment, appreciating what's around you. And perhaps there's someone there with you who's loving and kind, right there with you, listening, caring, being with you. And just let yourself feel what that feels like. Comfortable, happy, knowing that you can easily give and receive love. That is your true nature. And let yourself take a moment to feel appreciation for yourself. We're so often finding fault with ourselves. So in this moment, take a moment to appreciate yourself, this amazing body that you have that allows you to live and enjoy life. Your amazing mind, your brilliance, your radiant spirit. Just take a moment to appreciate, wow, I'm pretty amazing. And take a moment to appreciate all that's around you. The sky above you. Maybe there's trees. Perhaps there's this kind, loving person right there beside you. And just let yourself be filled with gratitude. Taking that in. Feeling grateful. And also feeling confident that this is the life you can have. Feeling strong and powerful. You can create this. You are indeed radiant. There's joy within you. You're absolutely lovable and you're unstoppable. You can have this life that you love. You can have the love of your life. And just notice how you're feeling. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and share. How are you doing? How does it feel?
Oh, that felt great.
Oh, good. Yay.
Yeah, I loved the affirmations and the walking through appreciation and the looking at yourself in a new way. It's funny at the end, the little inner voice, that you talked about, letting go of, that self-judgment and stuff like that. And I kind of want to jump into that, even though I kind of also want to kind of sit within the energy of that beautiful experience you just led us through.
God.
But I want to go with what's up. So when we're saying to ourselves, these affirmations around worthiness and enough, but how do we really unpack those wounds? How do we stop our inner voice? When we say, we deserve this, and the inner voice says, no.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Liz, for being so open and honest and diving into it. So yeah, things can come up. And so that's really a big piece of my work with clients, is to help you identify, what are those demons, that is inner voice that's in the way, those negative impeding beliefs, or just that, just to know, okay, it's old stuff and we work through it. So, the first step is to notice it and to realize this thing, it's not you, it's not who you are, it's some old programming. And maybe it's came from, in your case, I don't know, we can look at, where it came from, but digging into where it came from right now, maybe that's not our goal for this particular program. But just to recognize that you are more powerful than anything that shows up like that. You're the one in charge. you, instead of giving the power over to that voice, you get to decide. You get to decide that you can let it go, you can turn it off, you can change the channel. And we're not going to delve into all the details of how to do that right now, but that is the work that I do with people to make it so that those voices no longer have power over you. You're bigger and more powerful, and you get to show up as your joyful, loving self. So it is absolutely possible.
Cool. For our listeners today, what is your go-to for turning off those negative voices?
Well, there's a few different things.
But if you had a top one that you could share with our listeners today, just to give them a taste of what they could expect if they worked with you.
Okay. So don't be afraid of the voices. Don't be afraid of them. Just, you can actually laugh at them. Instead of being afraid, like, oh my God, there's that scary voice. What am I going to do? It's going to take me over. You can laugh and smile like it's a little thing. It's not this big, powerful thing that we think it is. And there's various ways that you can discreate the whatever it is and let it go. And one way I love is to take it, and you can throw it in fire, you can sink it in water, you can do lots of things, but knowing that you have the power over it, this thing can't take over. You're the one who created it. And just recognizing, and you can even say, I don't need you right now. Thank you for, maybe it's trying to protect you. You can say, thank you for serving me, but I don't need you anymore. I'm done with you now. I'm going to let you go.
I love that, Wendy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So let's go back to how it feels when you show up really as being love, being your most joyful, loving self. How does that feel? And how can you do that? How can you make that a daily practice? How can you show up being love, feeling this way, believing in yourself, feeling confident, being loving and kind to yourself, being loving and kind to others? How do you do it?
Yeah, how do we do that? Let's dive in, Dr. Wendy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so when it's kind of deciding that, well, there's always stuff going on. There's always something negative. There's always a direction down that you could take, and you get to choose that. No, I'm going up. I'm choosing to be loving and kind. No matter what is happening around you, you're the strong center. You're not going to be pulled down by a little voice saying, "Nya, nya, nya, nya." It's like a little bully on the playground. Like, no, they don't get to have that power. You get to show up. And let me give you an example. I have a client I'm working with right now. We'll call her Maria. She's in her mid-60s. And she told me that she thought in the past, she thought that gratitude was for people who already have it all. Like they already have everything they want. And okay, then they can be grateful because they already have everything, and then she realized, oh, actually, when you don't have everything, you can be grateful. When you don't have that love of your life yet, or you don't have everything all lined up just the way you want it to be. And it's okay. You can still be grateful. There's still, despite whatever challenges or circumstances, there's still things that we can appreciate and be grateful for. And she shared an example. She was recently out bike riding and being her happy, radiant self, loving life, feeling grateful. And this handsome, charming man, I'm not kidding, she's riding her bike. He comes along, he's on his bike. They stopped at the corner, chatted, and she had seen him around before, and they rode together a little bit, and they ended up going on 3 dates so far. And we'll see. I mean, she's thinking he's probably not totally aligned with her vision, and he's probably not her guy, but pretty cool practice and pretty amazing energy that she just could show up like that. And she was like irresistible. So when you show up in that energy, you're a magnet and people will love that. They want to be around that. When you're in this negativity and fearful, it's repellent. So that's so important. So, how can you show up as your radiant self and live a life that brings you joy?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I like that story. Dr. Wendy, thank you for sharing that. And I like what you said. She said she's not sure if he's aligned with her vision. So let's jump into that, because I think there's a lot that goes with that, and manifesting and kind of staying out of that negative energy and staying in alignment with that positive energy, to stay in flow with your vision. So let's jump into that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So really look at what brings you joy and love. What helps you to stay radiant and positive and happy about your life. So like for me, I love being in nature. I love walking my dog, being outside, simple things like just appreciating whatever it is. Like today it's a gray sky. The other day it was a blue sky. Whatever sky it is, it's good. I'm not saying, oh, it's cloudy weather. It's like, okay, whatever it is okay. And let's appreciate whatever's there. And I mean, simple things like being able to appreciate whoever's there in front of you and what's going on. Obviously, family, people in your life, people you interact with every day, your partner, if you have one, your friends, your clients. I mean, for me, it's everybody. Recently, a store employee was very difficult and challenging. The service wasn't so good, and rather than get into this I was like, okay, well, this person's maybe having a bad day. I'm going to be appreciative and kind. And it's simple and to take that path, but not always easy.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And then I want to jump back to aligned with her vision. So
Yep.
how do you help your clients, this client, come up with her vision?
Oh yeah, that's kind of my mission. That's we do so much work around that, all kinds of different exercises and digging deep to get clear on, what is it that you truly want? What's the life that you want? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't take time to get that clarity. So that's a huge piece. Like what's essential for you in your life and in the right relationship. We get clear on what are the requirements, what needs to be there. And so many things. I was going to get into that in our next piece, but maybe finish up more on talking about being the love, being that love that you want, and then we'll talk about finding it. So getting that clarity on your vision. I mean, that's part of it. It's all combined. So knowing what works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah, sure, Dr. Wendy. What did you want to share that we haven't touched on yet around finding the love that you want?
Oh, lots. So, okay. So first we're talking about being that love that you want. So being that starting with loving and appreciating yourself, believing you deserve that love, and having appreciation for whatever is around you, the environment, the people, the pets, the planet. Let's appreciate what we have here. It's pretty good. And now we can talk about, okay, how do you find it? How do you find that love you want? And I got to say, most people go about it in a backwards way. They run into somebody attractive, and maybe you both have something in common, like you like to hike, or you like to dance, or you like movies, or whatever it is. You like something and you agree that, okay, we like that thing. And then what do most people do? They kind of hook up, they get together, and they hope it'll work out. All right. That's what most people do. How well does that usually work?
Not. Some people get lucky.
Pretty much not. Most of the time.
You end up in this little mini marriage, like you like to call it. And then
Yeah.
a couple months down the line, you're like, oh, there's that. Or a year later, something else is popping up that wasn't popping up earlier,
You got it. I know. This is what, unfortunately, this is what happens. So it often doesn't last. So maybe, one person wants marriage and family. That's kind of a big deal, like to be clear that that's what you want. And often people don't share that. Like, that's important. If the other person doesn't want that, that's not a match. Unless you just want to have a short-term recreational fun kind of fling relationship, it's not a match for the long term. So you've got to be aligned on those obvious, it seems obvious, right? But you'd be surprised. So many people get involved and then they're trying to change the other person. Oh, he'll come around, he'll change his mind. No, mostly not. Sometimes, but more often not. Or maybe you get things like somebody wants to retire in the country and the other person wants to live in the city and keep working until they're 80, or that's not a match. Lovely as they may be, and unless they're willing to give that up as a requirement, it doesn't work so well. Or let's say somebody wants to travel all the time and the other one wants to stay home all the time. These are issues, and it's really good to get clear on what you need first before you go out there meeting people. That's where people make the mistake. And sometimes they think, oh, well, there's this attraction, we're in love, and maybe there's lust and all that going on. Well, that's not enough for lasting love. You need to have that shared vision. So I've got 3 steps for finding the love that you really want. You want to hear them?
Yep, let's do it.
Good. All right. First, identify what you want. So that's the first step. The first step isn't go to a bar and see who you meet. No. Identify what you want. You want to get clear. What are your values? What's really important to you? What do you wake up honoring every morning? What's your vision? What's the life that you envision living? Where do you want to be living? How do you want to be living? What kind of relationship do you want to have? So for me, I wanted marriage and family. And finally, I learned to date men. Well, I learned not to date men who didn't want that. I would try to convince them that, oh yeah, that's what you want too. No, if they don't want it, they don't want it. Or it wasn't that they were super clear. That was the problem. Like they'd be, well, maybe I could maybe see that. That's possible. And I'd be hanging in there. Okay, well, when's maybe going to come? And I'm getting older. So maybe's not good. Don't go with maybe. So now I've been married for 16 years and we have a 10-year-old son. And I'm thinking, of course, it's not always like peaches and cream. We have our moments, but it's pretty easy. We've had some like serious medical ups and downs and challenges and stuff, and we get through it all. We're supportive. We're there for each other. We're a team. We're aligned. It's so much easier when you have that. So you want to get clear. Well, maybe get clear first about what you don't want. Like, what are the deal breakers? What are the things that don't work? Like that you couldn't stand, that you couldn't deal with if that was theirs. Can you think of anything for you, Liz, that something like, no way, I can't deal with that. That's not going to work.
Let's see. Unavailability. If they're not honest, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Because trust is very important to me.
Huge. That's huge. Yeah, that usually comes up for a lot of people. Yeah. So
yeah, supporting my career. If they're not going to be supportive, that's a deal breaker.
Right. Yeah. You got to have it. So you don't even go on a date. And well, sometimes it takes a couple of dates to find out. But let me give you an example of a client, a new client I'm working with now. We'll call him Roger. And he was dating a woman who is kind of a party girl. She's very bright, but she likes to smoke and she drinks a lot. And he realizes that wow, that's not the lifestyle that he wants. And that doesn't really work for him. And yeah, she's very attractive and she's bright, but you know, he's like, well, this isn't working for me. So yeah, that some people think initially like, oh, I want somebody who looks right, who's like tall, dark, and handsome, or whatever it is. But really the essentials, as you mentioned, Liz, maybe would be more like that there's an honesty and trust that in this relationship we've created safety in that honesty and trust, and there's availability, that we're available for each other. And I see that, and after more than 20 years now, oh my God, it's been more than 20 years. So I've learned, and most people want that. They want to have that honesty and kindness and a commitment to a shared future and a shared vision for the future.
Mm-hmm. And like you were saying with the client, with the smoking and the drinking, like smoking is definitely a no for me, or if a person drinks too much, that's a no for me. Yeah. Because it doesn't align with, how I am. So, yes, go out and have a good time, listen to some music and stuff like that. But 5 gin and tonics, probably not the way to go.
Exactly.
Especially on a first date.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. So having, moderation and clarity of, what works, what doesn't work, and getting some clarity about your vision. So I don't know if you've given, I know you have given thought, because we've worked together and you've given some thought to your vision for your life and relationship. So anything you'd like to share about that?
About what again? About value?
About your vision of what you see, of what you would like. I mean, you did share a little bit, like being within a relationship where there's honesty and there's support for your career, and you feel loved, supported, and what else?
Mm-hmm. Loved, supported, cherished, equal respect, for each other. I think respect is high on my list. I also think, I value freedom, so having, that time to myself, being an introvert and wanting to get some alone time, I think that's important as well, and that freedom also goes along with, being able to be creative and do the podcast and work on my dream and that sort of thing. I value travel. So, somebody who would want to travel with me. Also, let's see what else. And also being able to let's retire to a warm community, one day, maybe have 2 places here, by the kids, and then, somewhere else, we can snowbird sometime, maybe to Mexico or Hawaii or Arizona, somewhere warm. Right?
Sounds good. Yeah. To, be maybe co-creating this vision together, but have alignment and sharing that. And for the things that are essential, those requirements that really have to be there for you, you want to operationalize them, so if they're met or not met. So that's important too, to get that clarity. But that sounds beautiful, and I'm glad you've given it some thought. That's so important, and so many people don't take the time for getting that clarity. So just to get that clarity on, what is it I want? What's my vision? What's the kind of life and relationship that I want? When you know that, then when you meet people, you'll know, well, could they be a match or not? It's so much easier.
Right. Yeah. Especially myself, I value peace and ease, totally. Right. And healthy communication, emotional maturity. So, when you go out on a date and you're talking with somebody and you're finding, wow, they speak my language, or, they resolve things instead of react, or, they don't have attachment, issues, or, anxious attachment or any of that going on. And you start to see these things in people as you're dating. You realize, wow, I'm attracting these things, right? I'm not attracting what I used to attract. Now that I've written down what I want and I'm really visualizing what I want and I'm aligning with what I want, you start bringing in the people that are also in alignment with these things as well. And you end up, oh, I see that he also values peace, or I see that he also values healthy communication, or I see that, he likes to resolve and, kind of talk through something, instead of 0 to 100. Those things are really important. So, I think that was very valuable working with you to be able to figure out, like, what do I value? What lifestyle do I value? What doesn't make my body feel good when I'm with somebody? Or,
Absolutely.
yeah, those sort of things. Very valuable tools that you help people with, Dr. Wendy.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear that. And I'm going to go back to something you shared about how you're now attracting a whole different caliber of people who are resonant with you, that you're like vibrating at a higher level. And that's huge. When you can believe in your vision, and be clear on it and believe in it and feel it, rather than focusing on the lack, you're focusing on the possibility, on the hope, on having it. And
yes,
then you're magnetic and irresistible. So
yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
you see it. You start to see it automatically. And I find that the universe actually gives me clues right away to go, okay, this person is not aligned with this, or this person is aligned with this. And I usually find out within a couple weeks. And then you're not, you can spend more time with the person who does have the same values as you. Hey, would you like to go for another walk or something like that? Right.
Absolutely.
And then because like, well, maybe not, for the person, who maybe has a high drama content, right? And not value peace.
Exactly. You want to be discerning. So that leads us to my second step in finding the love that you want. Well, the second step is, not just getting clear about it, but doing something, like taking action, and not just any action, but conscious, deliberate action. So you want to take that action that's conscious, that's deliberate, to find your match and live your vision. So that's kind of my mission, to help people get that clarity and take the right action to date consciously. I help people create profiles so they're shining and their most amazing radiant selves online, and then attracting somebody who would be a match for that. And well, you don't want to take the common unconscious approach again, where you just hook up with somebody who's not really a match, and then what happens, people do this, I hear this all the time. And so you're kind of seeing somebody, this isn't the right somebody for me, but you're spending all this time with this person, but then you're not available for somebody who could be your soulmate, who could be, a great match for you, for your vision, for your future. So that's kind of sad.
Yeah, especially since, as a whole, I think everybody has limited resources because we have our irons in a lot of fires, right? So if we're investing in this person, that isn't right for us, then we are lacking the space to bring in the person that would be right for us. So clearing that space, I think, is important, so we can fill that space with something that is,
yes, exactly. So important. So just notice if that's you, if that's what you're doing, like, oh, okay, what am I willing to do about it?
Because it does take a lot of energy and effort to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And it becomes almost like a second job when you're doing the online dating and going through all the profiles and you're chatting with a couple of people and stuff like that. That does take time and effort, and what do you want to spend this time and effort on, or who do you want to spend this time or effort on?
Well, yeah, you get to decide how important is it to you, and are you worth it? Do you want to just settle for whoever shows up and what's convenient, or are you going to do something about it? So if you're taking conscious, deliberate action, you do something. Like Roger, the guy I mentioned before, he decided to do something about it. This woman he was seeing, of the smoking and drinking, okay, guess what? He stopped seeing her. Woohoo! So that makes him, and plus she didn't even live in the same city. It was like far away, and you had to fly to get there pretty much. So anyway, so he's now available for somebody who is more of a match. And prior to working together, he wasn't really clear about any of this stuff. So getting that clarity is so important, and then taking the action to to be open and available for somebody who really is right for you. So don't give up on your dreams, even if you get discouraged. And a lot of people tend to focus on lack and scarcity and think, oh, I better just take what I can get, hang out with this person who's there, who I know isn't a good long term. Let's not go down that path. So instead, focus on, and as I mentioned before, instead of focusing on what you don't have and how awful it is to not have what you want, focus on how it feels to have it. That filling yourself up with that love.
Let's go back to that discouraged word, because I know there's a lot of divine timing when it comes to love. And, sometimes we want it now, but divine timing, it might come later, and we have to be patient, right? So
absolutely.
What about when we get discouraged? What can we do in the meantime to kind of lift ourselves out of that discouragement?
Yeah. So I guess you can, again, focus on, well, what is good in your life right now? What are you grateful for right now? What brings you joy right now? What people can you have around you? Who can you have around you who could be supportive of you right now? And allowing yourself to feel what it feels like to have whatever it is in your life, have that love right now. So just because he's not here yet doesn't mean you can't feel how good it feels to have that.
Yes, that is so important in manifestation.
It is.
You feel what it would actually feel like to be experiencing that in the moment.
Yeah, that's why I did that little guided meditation with you earlier, to just get a little feel of that. Yeah,
that's so important.
Yeah. So let's see. What's another example?
Right?
Another example of deliberate action. Well, I guess, helping people with their profiles. Like I one of my clients, I'll call her Sally. We just created this gorgeous new profile. She went out and got professional photos. You don't have to get professional photos, but if you can, that's nice. I mean, she looks amazing in all these different outfits. I'll give you one of the tips is for women to wear some shade of red or pink in the profiles. It catches the guy's eyes. I don't know if we have to give the same advice to men. I don't think the men have to wear red or pink. You don't have to. You can do whatever the heck you want. It's just a suggestion that those colors kind of are the love colors, and they catch your eye. But anyway, it's about being very deliberate. So Sally was very deliberate about sharing her radiant essence online, and she's now attracting these pretty cool guys, and she's being selective and discerning and starting to meet people. But it's exciting. It's kind of empowering that you can take these conscious, deliberate steps. You can take action. You don't have to just sit and wait for whoever, Prince Charming, to show up. And you can be quite discerning along the way. You're not just going to settle. So actually that comes to my third step, my third point I wanted to make about finding the love you want. If we want to go there, are we ready to?
Yeah, sure.
So that's about being the chooser. So there's often this idea that, oh, well, hopefully somebody nice will pick me, and then I'll be with that person. And so waiting around to be chosen. And as we mentioned, many people keep dating somebody who chose them, even though they didn't really decide that this is the one for me. Maybe that other person just persevered, and so they're together. I mean, that doesn't mean that this person's right for you just because they like you. So it's so important to learn to screen out the people who aren't right. And they might be right for somebody else, but if they're not right for you, then you can wish them well, and you move on. And you want to be discerning. You want to choose wisely, and remember that you're the chooser. It's very empowering.
So when your clients put themselves out there and they find the love of their life, how do they keep it?
Well, let me give you an example of being the chooser first,
Sure.
just to drill that in. So, all right. So let me think. Yeah. Okay. So a client, I'm going to call her Laura. So she's in her 30s, single mom, and she had this pattern of letting men choose her. And she ended up in one after the other relationships with these guys who were like substance abusers. I mean, it's alcohol, like a lot of alcohol, like alcoholics, and serious drug users, and also kind of macho controlling type guys. So she's had quite a few. And so our work together, she recognized, wow, this is what I've been allowing into my life and attracting, and just awareness is so huge, knowing that, oh, so I did that. Just because you did it before doesn't mean you have to keep doing it, right? It's like a habit. You can change it. So she learned how to be the chooser, which was so like, wow, okay, I can be the chooser. And she chose a guy who's kind of different from these other guys. He's very kind. He's very loving. He's more sensitive. He's kind of an artistic guy. And he treats her like a queen. And he's so sweet and adoring of her young son, and just like there for her. And she's saying, she just told me, my God, this guy for sure this is the best relationship I've ever had. It's so different. It's so much, of more of what I really wanted. And it's because she was the chooser, and she, chose to be with somebody was such a higher level and resonated with her new self, because as she became the person that she wanted to be, then she was able to attract this kind of guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm
Good
so happy when I love it when these things
win.
Nice. So good. Yeah. All right. So now we want to talk about how you keep it. So you find it. How do you keep it? What do you do? Well, I'll just give a few things that it seems like obvious stuff, but we don't always do these things. So, I mean, one basic thing is like show up and be there, actually be fully present with interest and with compassion. So that present means you're not on a screen. So many people are addicted to their screens, right? Their phones, and they're constantly, they're not really present. If you've got a phone in your face, or you're always on the computer or looking at a TV or whatever it is, or something. It's like, make time for each other, show up, be present, and present without judgment, without looking for, maybe being critical, looking for what's wrong. Like actually with interest, with compassion. So that's huge, actually. Seems simple, but if you can do that, that's a good first step in keeping that love. So that's one thing.
Nice.
Yeah. And another thing is to make time, like make this a priority. We sometimes get the relationship and then we get so busy and don't make time for our relationship. Like, okay, is this or is this not, a priority in your life? Make it a priority, make that time, nurture that relationship. Like, if you're growing plants in a garden, you can't just leave them and not water them and take care of them. You have to nurture them.
Yes.
So not just, I mean, it applies to any relationship. So
yeah,
any relationship that you care about, make some time and check in. And if you don't see the person daily, then see them as often as you can see them, or you mutually decide, you get to co-create the relationship. How do you want it to be? But make it a priority. And you want to be with somebody who makes you a priority. That's important too. Don't forget that.
Yes.
So those are a couple of things. Let's see what else. Well, I think the communication is huge. So when you're listening, you're listening with love instead of with a critical, judging ear, like listen with love and care, and speak your truth in a kind way, in a compassionate way, and ask for what you want. That's kind of huge. I mean, it's, again, seems obvious, but so many people don't do it. And when you can do that, it makes a world of difference in keeping that love, and keeping that love fresh and strong, keeping it alive.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh, I was going to share one more. So I mentioned that we had some health stuff. So I had some realizations after a pretty recent life-threatening event that really shook up our whole family. It was really scary. We were on vacation, and I don't want to get into all the details, but it ended up my husband had to be airlifted to a hospital, and my son and I had to go back to the place we were staying and then drive for a couple hours in the middle of the night and go to this hospital. It was in the hospitals in Seattle. And we didn't know if my husband was going to be alive. I'm going to want to start crying. Okay.
Yeah. That was a hard
I
time.
don't know if I should have got into that. But anyway, so I'm driving through the night, hoping and praying that he's going to be okay. And my son, who's 10, was amazing. So, anyway, so my husband now has fully recovered, which is a miracle that he recovered, like totally a miracle. Fantastic. But so anyway, so what I take from that is, you don't take anything for granted. You don't know. Like, let's just be so grateful for each day. And I really have shifted. Like in the past, like it was kind of like, yeah, every day it's another day. He'll be here. Everything's going to be the same. No, it may not be the same. Things can change. And, wow, each day is a gift. It's a present. It's the present, be present in the present and appreciate the gift and appreciate your life and the people in it. So yeah, so having that appreciation is huge, and just taking the time to let people know that, wow, I like you, Liz, I so appreciate you. You're amazing.
I appreciate you too, Dr. Wendy.
Yeah, I mean it. And, take the time to let people know that. And makes a difference. Well, let me give you, so getting off my story. So yeah, so I had my own miracle story not too long ago. So that was fantastic, and not fantastic that it happened, but the result of having that daily gratitude and appreciation is big. And letting, like, every day I'm grateful that my husband's there, that he's so fantastic and such a great dad, and that takes care of us in so many ways, and he's great. So I'm lucky, but you can have that too. Absolutely. And it doesn't take a life-threatening event, to shake you up, to remember that you can appreciate life right now.
Yes, I love that. That is a great way to end too. Love, appreciation, gratitude, and not taking our loved ones for granted.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And I was going to share one more example. So I'm working with a couple right now. And when they started with me, it was challenging. They were yelling at each other. So I work with individuals and couples. So this couple was like, they weren't understanding each other. They were judging each other. They were yelling. I was like, oh my God, this was challenging. And we've done a lot of work, and they are now listening in a way that they were not listening before. And they're really sharing and from the heart, and they're there for each other much more than they ever were. And they're really showing appreciation on a regular basis, and it's shifted their relationship. So there's a lot more ease and love and kindness and peace, and it's also rubbing off on their kids, that they're, so that's good, that it's, so when you have that solid relationship, it'll affect everyone around you, and people want to be around that. It's positive. It's,
yes.
Yeah. So you can just notice in your life. So how can you show your appreciation?
Beautiful. I love that, Dr. Wendy. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you bet.
It really is so important.
Yes.
Yeah. How can you support our listeners to be, find, and keep the love that they want? How can they work with you, Dr. Wendy?
Let's see. Well, I'd be happy to talk with anybody who's listening. Well, I probably can't give every single one of you a free consultation, but I'm happy to offer a complimentary love consultation to either, it could be individuals or couples, but you want to, get on that. Don't wait too long. And also, if you just want some freebies, I've got some goodies on my website. It's drwendylyon.com. And you can get, here's my road. This is from the book Roadmap to Success. I've got my roadmap to relationship success. So that's from my book with Deepak Chopra and Ken Blanchard. So you can get the whole roadmap to relationship success. That's available for you. And I also have a true love guide. I created this video guide that covers all kinds of things. Like, let's see, I have a conscious dating quiz in there. There's a lot more. So really useful for singles who want to find love, and that's available. And yeah, all that's on my site. So
Awesome.
yeah.
That's great, Dr. Wendy. So roadmap to relationship success, true love guide, and the
Can I
complementary.
put it in the chat? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Say it again.
True love guide and the complimentary love consultation. And everybody, you can find that on drwendylyon.com. And that's LYON.
Do you want me to put it in the chat? Would that be helpful?
Oh, no, I'll put it down in the description.
Okay.
So that they'll be able to access it there. So everybody, I'll have the link right below in the description of the show. Dr. Wendy, thank you so much. This has been so fun to interview you. And thank you for sharing all of your wisdom with our listeners today.
Oh, thank you, Liz. It's been such a pleasure being here with you. You're such a sweetie. I'm delighted to be part of your community, and I'm wishing you and everyone in your community to have a life that you love with the love of your life. And I would be honored to be on your team to help you create that.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Wendy. Everybody give her a call. She's amazing.
Mwah.
And thank you everyone for listening. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Raise the Vibe with Liz, and at my website at lizshealingtouch.com. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Wendy. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Have a great day, everybody.